Hello everyone, this is again your host Manjeet Kumar, and today I am going to explain you the chapter crop production and management. So before we start this chapter, we have uh, we have already studied, or you might have already studied in the previous classes, what is the importance of food in our life. Basically, food is necessary for all of us to grow, to develop, to generate energy, to carry out life processes, and to repair damaged cells. Here, the living organisms, there are two types of living organisms. First are plants, which make their own food, and we human beings, that is animals, we do not prepare our food. So, where do we get food from? So basically, we human beings and animals get our food from plants and animal both, and we need food for the ever processes such as to grow, to develop, to generate energy, to carry out our life processes, and to repair our damaged cell of the body. Apart from this, we need food to digest the food that we eat, to respire, and for the excretion. Now, here I would like to explain you about the process of digestion, respiration, and excretion. Well, digestion is the process of decomposing food particles from into the simpler form so that our body could absorb it and the energy could be generated from this is done with the help of respiration. The respiration is the process in which we take in oxygen, and our body uses this oxygen to synthesize food, to generate energy from the food, and the waste materials that remains or that is left over after the process of digestion and respiration is removed out of our body, and this process of removal of waste material from the living things or living beings is called excretion. There are two sources from where we get the food. The first is from animals, and the second one is plants. Basically, in this chapter, we will discuss more about the food that we get from the plants. But to begin with, I will give you some idea about the food that we get from the animals. See, from animals we get meat, fish, egg, milk, and other kinds of things. These are the foods that we use to eat. Uh, we get milk from cows, buffaloes, goat, camel, and all, and this milk is used to prepare many other kinds of food items such as ghee, butter, curd, sweets, and all that. Now, the main part of this chapter, that the food we get from the plants. Basically, we get food from the plants, and plant make their own food. They make their food by the process of photosynthesis, in which they trap the energy of the heat, or trap the energy of the sunlight, and they uses carbon dioxide gas, water, and other nutrients to generate food for them. And when we eat those plant products such as fruits, vegetables, leaves, and all, we get food from these plants. So in this way, we animals are dependent for our food on plants and animal both. Photosynthesis is a complex process of preparing food by plants, in which the water is absorbed from the roots of the plant and it reaches to the leaves of the plant, which is leaves are called the food factory of the plant. So water reaches to the leaves of the plants through uh, through the tubes that are present all over the body of the plant. These tubes are used to carry on or transport water from roots to the leaves. This takes place with the help of transpiration. During the process of transpiration, the water evaporates from the um, leaves of the plant, and when there is lack of water, the water is soaked or pushed up, or by the process of transpiration the water is pulled from the leaves of the plant, and in this way from roots through the stem and other branches the water leaves reaches the leaves of the plant. Here the leaves of the plants have chlorophyll, this which is the green pigment in the leaves of the plant that decides the color of the leaf, uh, traps the heat of the sunlight, and at the back of the leaves certain or very tiny pores are there that those are responsible for exchange of gases. These are called stomata. Stomata takes in carbon dioxide, and uh, with the help of carbon dioxide gas, other nutrients and water which is absorbed from the roots, and with the help of sunlight, that is the energy of sunlight, plant prepare their own food. Later on they synthesize their food to generate energy from the food. The food that they prepare, some of the part of the food is preserved or kept for the adverse situation when the climatic condition is adverse, and in the situation where plants cannot make their food. These extra foods are stored as a starch, and it is converted as fruits and vegetables and stems that we eat, and we use it as our source of food. As we all know that the population of human beings on earth is very high, and every of the human being needs or gets the food, means they require food. Now to fulfill the food requirement of each and every person on this earth, it is very necessary to produce the food products on a very large quantity. This production of food or food products on a very large quantity is called cultivation. Then food production management means management of the food and distribution of the food. Only food production is not enough. It should be managed properly. That will be explained later on, that how food is managed, and their distribution is also necessary. If the food is produced and they are kept at a place, they do not reach at the people who need the food, then there is no use of production of food, and it will get spoiled by keeping it at a place, at a certain place. So proper distribution of food product is also quite important. Now before we proceed further, we should understand the history of agriculture, that is how cultivation or agriculture started in this world. Well, to begin with, I would like to inform, or I would like to communicate over here that 10,000 BCE, the people were nomads, means they used to move from one place to another. They used to hunt animals and they used to eat their meat. But later on, as the time passes, they move from place to place, and in certain regions or in certain timings they saw certain kinds of crops or plants growing in a certain region or in certain places. Later on, gradually they started getting settled at a place, and gradually they started cultivating or sowing these plants, or and this gave birth to the practice of agriculture. The agriculture of certain kind of plants at a place on a large scale is called crop, such as wheat, rice, pulses. These are all called crops. They are grown at a certain place, at a fixed place, and at a very large scale, means in a big field, in a quite big field they are cultivated altogether. So this kind of food is called crops. There are different kinds of crops such as cereals, vegetables, and fruits. Cereals are our daily diet, or the things that we eat in our day to day life is called cereals, such as rice and wheat, and vegetables, all of us knows, and fruits we also know. In India, we have two kinds of crops, basically the Kharif crops and Rabi crops. Kharif crops are cultivated in rainy season, that is in the month of June to September, and the examples of Kharif crops are paddy, that is rice, maize, soybean, cotton, etc. These crops need more amount of water at the time of irrigation, means they need more more amount of irrigation, and that is why they are sown in the rainy season, that is in the month of June to September. These kind of plants require a lot of water to grow. And the another kind of crop is Rabi crop. Rabi crops are sown in winter season, that is in the month of October to March. They are sown in October month, or and they are harvested or they are cut it down in March month. The example of Rabi crops are wheat, gram, peas, mustard, etc. Pulses and vegetables are also comes under Rabi crops. These are the two kinds of food category that is cultivated in India, all over India, and the cultivation of these crops require or need some agricultural practices. Agricultural practices means preparation of field and taking care of the crops, because if we do not prepare the field and if we do not take care of the crops and if we do not store or protect it properly, there will be weak or bad cut down or bad production of the crops. So these agricultural practices are quite necessary or quite important for the agriculture. For this agricultural processes, we will describe or we will understand each of the step or each of the process one by one. The first process is preparation of soil. Before the sowing of the seed, the soil is prepared, means the soil is first plugged. During the plugging of soil, the soil is loosened out so that the air could enter into the space between the soil, so that plants could get the oxygen or the roots of the plants could breathe. If we plug the or if we lose the soil, it also uh, increases the water retention capacity of the soil, and that is why plants are able to absorb or soak water from the soil, and it is used by the plants for various life processes. Moreover, the advantage of plugging or preparation of soil is that soil need to be turned after the cut after the harvesting or after the cutting down of certain kind of crops. What happens when we cultivate at a field for at a certain stage or in a certain season, certain nutrients are absorbed by the plants. Basically, nutrients are necessary for the proper growth and developments of plant also. These nutrients are absorbed by the plants from the soil, and roots absorb these nutrients along with the water. So if the soil is turned, the nutrients from the at the bottom or at the lower or downer part of the soil comes up, and the plants get more nutrients and the production of crop is quite good. Moreover, if the soil is loose, the roots of the plants penetrate easily into the soil, and it helps the plant to hold a better grip, and they are able to stand straight. Now, the soil is prepared by tilling and plugging it, and this is done with the help of plug. When the soil is plugged, there are a large chunks of soil. These chunks are need to be broken down, and this is done with the help of leveler that is used to level the soil and to break the large chunks of the soil. Sometimes before tilling and before plugging, manure is added to the soil so that uh, soil could get the nutrients that are lost or that were used by the plants that was cultivated just before the soil was prepared. Plug is a traditional tool for plugging the field in which a beam of wood is attached um, by a beam of tool is taken, that is known as plug shaft, and this plug shaft is attached with a plug share at one end, that is that is triangular in shape, and at the other end of the beam shaft one beam of wood is attached, that is hanged on the neck of buffaloes. The plug share of the plug is sharp at one end, and it penetrates into the soil and turns the soil properly, and in this way the plug is used to prepare the soil. Now the another tool that is used to prepare the soil is hoe. Hoe is a simple tool or simple traditional tool that is used to plug the field and to remove the weeds. In a hoe is long beam or long metallic or iron rod is there, in which at one end one plate or one curved plate is attached that works as a blade that is used to remove weeds, and this uh, turns the soil also, this loosen the soil also. So this is the another tool that is used to level or to prepare the soil. These are the traditional tools which are used to prepare the soil. Nowadays, the modern tools or the modern machine, which is known as cultivator, is used to plug the field or to prepare the field. This is done with the help of tractor. All of you might have seen the tractor, and at the end of the tractor, a cultivator is attached, and when we cultivate or when we plug the field with the help of tractor, it takes very less time, very less effort, and that makes it very easy to use and time saving. The next agricultural step or the next agricultural practice is sowing, that is the sowing of seeds. Seeds are sown uh, with the help of traditional tools. Earlier, the traditional tools were used to sow the seeds, in which a funnel like a structure was attached with the plug, and in these funnels seeds were kept, and these funnels have a sharp end at the bottom of it, and these used to spread the seeds in the field. But nowadays seed drills are used, and these seed drills are used with the tractors. With the tractors, that is with the cultivators, these seed drills are attached, and these seed drills solve or penetrates or put the seeds into the soil. Now, there are differences between traditional tool, that is funnel shaped uh, uh, sowing, and the sowing of seed through the seed drill. When we use the traditional tool, the seeds are not sown at the proper depth. Some penetrates deep into the soil and some at the surface of the soil. But when we use seed drills, the depth of the seed is equal for all the seeds. By using traditional tools, there is a uneven distribution of seeds, that is, the seeds are not distributed or sown at a proper distance. Some of the seeds are very close to each other, and at certain places there is a large distance between the seeds, but this is not the problem with the seed drills. Seed drill uh, sows the seed at particular or certain interval, certain distance, and these distances are fixed, and this causes the good or healthy production of food, that is the healthy crop production. When seed drill is used, some of the seeds are spread on the surface of the soil, and when the seeds are at the surface of the soil, the birds can eat those seeds, and that will affect the production of crops. So it is better and good to use seed drills to sow the seeds at particular or certain depth and at even distances. In some of the cases, first the nursery of the plants are prepared. You might have seen when the plants of or when rice is cultivated. First of all, the seedlings, that is the small plants of rice, are prepared or grown in a nursery, and then after these uh, plants are uprooted and they are distributed over the complete field or total field manually, that is by hands. The next step of the cultivation is adding manure and fertilizers to the soil. But why do we need to add manures and fertilizers, and what is the difference between manures and fertilizers? Well, first of all, the first question, why do we need to add manures and fertilizers to the soil? See, what happens right when crops are cultivated continuously, that is, one crop after another, the certain nutrients of the soil is used up and the fertility of the soil reduces, means uh, the plants do not grow healthy, and the production of crop is also quite less, and good quality of crops are not produced. So to ensure the good quality of crops and healthy production or good production of crops, manure and fertilizers are added to the soil. These manures and fertilizers are absorbed by the roots of the plant with along with the water, and this uh, enhance the quality, or this improves the quality of the crops, and the production also increases. So here manure is prepared in the field only with by leaves of the plant, peels of vegetables and fruits, dead materials of insects and certain microbes, and they are kept for the decomposition, and they are kept to decompose, and when they decompose or decay, this mixture is spread into the soil, and then after it is irrigated. When it is irrigated, they provide certain nutrients and mineral to the crops and to the plants, which ensures the good production of food. Fertilizers are also like only, but fertilizers are made in factories. They are artificial manures or artificial chemical based products. There are certain types of fertilizers such as urea, potassium, and all that. Different kinds of fertilizers are there, which is used according to the requirement of the plant. Now, these manures and fertilizers are used in everywhere, but when we use manure, it enhance the water retention capacity of the soil, and it improves the fertility of the soil. But regular use of fertilizers can leave the land barren, and it uh, decreases or degrades the fertility of the soil. The use of or the importance of manure and fertilizers could be understood with the help of an activity. For this activity, we take three of the glasses and we take same amount of soil in these glasses. Then we take some gram and we keep the grams in a container containing water, and we leave the grams overnight. And the next morning we saw these grams into these different glasses, and in one glass we use manure, in the other glass we use fertilizers, and in the third glass we do not use manure and fertilizers. And then after we saw the gram and leave the glasses for few days, that is for 6 to 7 days. After 6 to 7 days we will observe that uh, the glass in which we used fertilizers, the growth of the plant is very high, means the plants are the tallest in that glass. The glass in which used manure was used, uh, the plants are not that much longer, and in the third glass the growth of the plant is the very less, means the smallest plants are there in the third glass. To improve the fertility of soil, the crop rotation is practiced. In crop rotation, the crops are sown or cultivated in alternation. Means, as we can understand this with the help of an example, that in a season, wheat is cultivated in one season, and in another season the leguminous plants, that is pulses, basically the pulses are cultivated in the next season. These leguminous plants have legumes in their roots. Legumes have basically the rhizobium bacteria. These rhizobium bacteria are helpful to fix the nitrogen from the atmosphere, and they convert this nitrogen gas into the liquid form, that is in nitrates, and this nitrogen is absorbed by the roots of the plant, and ultimately when we eat these plant products, that is fruits and vegetables, the requirement of nitrogen of our body is fulfilled by this method. Now, the next step in the practice of agriculture is the irrigation of seeds. Irrigation is required by the plants or by the crops because water is necessary for every living beings, and irrigation means watering the plants. Traditionally, the traditional methods were used to irrigate the plants, in which the water was taken out from water bodies such as ponds, rivers, lakes, wells, and canals, and they are diverted to the fields manually, that is by hands. This actually causes a lot of wastage of water, and this is hard labor or hard working also. This is laborious work also. Nowadays, traditional methods of irrigations are used. In this method, two of the systems, that is sprinkler system and drip irrigation system, is used. First of all, the sprinkler system have sprinklers or perpendicular pipes attached to the main pipe, and these perpendicular pipes have sprinklers at the other end. When the water flows through the main pipes with the help of pump, these sprinklers start to sprinkle the water just like rain, because of the pressure or the flow pressure, because of the flow of the water. This actually reduces the wastage of water, and the complete field is irrigated properly. The another method is drip irrigation, in which the structure or layout of pipe is drawn throughout the field, and uh, These pipes have small holes at certain places and at certain intervals, and at these places only the plants are sown, so that the soil near the root of the plant only gets irrigated, and they get wet, they get water, and this actually saves a lot of water. A lot of wastage of water is prevented like this. So this kind of irrigation system is better where shortage of water is there and water is scarce in the areas. The next practice for the agriculture is protection of these crops. Protection of crops means protecting the crops from weeds, insects, pests and rodents such as rats. These actually harms the seeds or harms the plants and affect the production of crops. So these need to be removed. Basically, if we talk about weeds, weeds are unwanted plants that grows along with the crops, so these weeds need to be removed. Sometimes these weeds are actually removed before the plants starts to flower, and at some places weeds are removed before the plugging of the soil, in which these weeds are plugged and plugged with the soil and are kept in the soil only, and this actually works as a manure for the plants. Weeds are removed from the field with the help of khurpi, seed drills, and weedicides. Apart from this, insecticides and pesticides are also used to kill insects and pests and to protect the crops or the plants from these insects and pests. The next stage in the uh, practice of agriculture is the harvesting of the crops. To harvesting means cutting down of crops. So to cut down the crops, sickles or harvesters are used. Sickle, that in Hindi we know it as hasua. So with this sickles and the plants are cut down, this is called harvesting. But this harvesting or cutting down of plants through sickle is very laborious work, and instead of this nowadays harvesters are used. These harvesters are basically or generally a machine that cuts the plants very fast, and it makes the agriculture or cultivation process quite easy. The next stage is threshing, that is the removing the seeds or the crops from the plants. This is done with the help of thresher, in which seeds are separated from the plants and they are used to kept at side or at one place. Nowadays a combined machine, that is thresher and harvester, both are combined together, and this machine is called combine. It actually harvests the plants from the field, and altogether it threshes the crops also. The farmers who have very small field or very small piece of land, they use actually the winnowing process to uh, separate the seed from the plants or from the remaining part of the plant. In the winnowing, the seed is made to fall down from a height, and because of the wind speed or because of the wind, the seed collects there at the place of winnowing only, and the uh, bran used to travel some distance because of the uh, wind, and they gets collected at separate place. So in this way the seeds are separated from the bran. Now when the harvesting is done, in every places the harvest festival is celebrated. This harvest festival is celebrated because farmers does a lot of hard work to produce or to cultivate the field, and this is the time of their winning, in which their hard work, their hard labor pays him up, and they have the good production of seeds. So in different states or in different parts of India, different harvest festivals are celebrated, such as Vaisakhi, Makar Sankranti, Bihu, Pongal, and all. Now, when the crops are harvested, there comes the um, necessity of storage of the seeds. When the seeds or when the crops are kept for a long period of time, there may be attack of insects and pests that will harm the crops. So these crops are stored in silos and granaries. Basically, silos are a large containers or large tanks where chemicals are used with the seeds so that the insects and rodents and pesticides could not harm the seeds. But before storage, uh, the extra moisture is removed from the seeds or removed from the crops by drying it in the sunlight or by drying it in the sun. For the small farmers, these storages is done in granaries, or they even store the crops in the jute bags also. They may even use dry neem leaves with the crops that prevents the attack of insects. So this was all about the agricultural practices. Now in the beginning I had explained that we get food from animal also. So just like crops are cultivated, the animals are also reared. They are also domesticated. Animals such as chicken are also domesticated, or they are also reared. And when the animals are domesticated on a large scale, it is called animal husbandry. Animal husbandry is done for chicken, fishes, and all. The poultry farms is the example of animal husbandry, and the place or the ponds where fishes are left or kept to grow are also called animal husbandry. So this is all about the chapter. I hope this video is helpful to you. Thank you all for watching and have a great day ahead.